was a bit scary when everyone else leaves the channel and you're left with lobby and you're left there by yourself.
Alright, very warm welcome to round 3 of Group B of the January Series tournament. In this game we have Polina, Gameslayer, Toodback and Death Tacticus. All of these players have at least one win from the first 2 games, and Toodback has 2 wins from the first 2 games. Alongside me, as usual for this tournament, Philothanic.
Now, this is a ugly map. You couldn't have a tournament without at least one Zoltar map. This is
Yep,
our
and
Zoltar map.
Toodback has called it.
Now, this Zoltar map is maybe not as bad at first glance because there are plenty of resources everywhere.
So DT goes for the obvious scavenger in the northeast corner at a lot
this
of
is
debt,
gonna be-
26k.
This is going to be a very strong scavenger, 2 highs right next to each other, 2 other highs in the crater if he needs to transition himself. Now what he won't be very happy is 2D back blocking his access to water.
Yeah,
with
he's
his
got that
robotic
ice.
sound.
He's got that
He does
ice,
have
but
ice,
even so,
though.
yeah, it's not quite as good as having that water there. There was a high in there too that Toodback's just taken away. And I think Toodback's... Oh, sorry, go on.
Let's say Gameslayer really quick going for a expansive found, which given the amount of shipping that you'll be doing on this map is probably a good choice, taking it for 4k in debt. And last but not least, especially Polina going for our standard robot play.
Yeah, I like Polina's found quite a lot. It's strong, it's got everything she needs there, it's even got the uranium, it's got some ice as well for the water. Seems pretty good. And I actually like the expansive as well. Right in the middle of the map. A little bit lacking access to iron, and yeah, he's struggling to upgrade because of that. He's going to get there right now, in fact. DT's a very strong start, but again, in the late game, we'll see if the scavenger can keep up with the other HQ types. It hasn't managed to so far.
Well, Rahi had a chance in our games, and then Gameslayer died of debt. So we'll see if Death Tacticus won't make the same debt mistakes that Gameslayer did last game. Polina is the next to level 2, and Gameslayer is lagging behind a little bit, although we expect the expansive to be the last to have HQ2.
Yep, I think that's totally okay. Gameslayer grabbing, and core sampling another iron in the southeast. I'd missed that, and he gets a high for his trouble as well, so fortune favouring Gameslayer with the core samples. And that's going to be very profitable iron as well.
Map, but like I said earlier, not as bad of a Zoltar map as you would first think.
So DT gets to HQ3, and he is the only one in that glass market, and glass has been profitable for quite a while. These kilns, he's put a third one down as well, making 80 apiece right now. He's also going into power, which is getting up there, up above 110. So he's got an avenue out of that debt. He is in that B level of debt rating at the moment, though, which is going to be a little bit of a problem for him.
B is still okay. B says I need to start paying attention to my debt. C is where you definitely need to pay attention to your debt. And then D, of course, is bad.
Yeah, and potentially he's far enough ahead that he can afford to keep those nuclear plants up for a while and just try and pay as much of that down as he can. He's also going into a patent lab, which I like a lot. He's going to get a lot of value from liquid batteries if he wants it. And he's in one corner of the map, so anything he can do to cut down on his shipping costs I think will be really good, particularly as life support's just a little bit awkward this game.
Right. 2D back is falling behind a little bit with this robot start. He does have the upgrade to level 3, HQ3. Once again, with the expansive Gameslayer lagging behind a little bit, which is what we would have expected.
Something quite subtle as well. Toodback, there's a cave, and he's claimed it. There's a cave next to the high water, so the same as Rahi from last time. He's going to get the benefit of adjacent highs, at least for a little bit. The
patent lab being hammered by, let's see who that was. That was a Toodback. trying to knock down that patent lab that Tacticus has. Um, let's check in on what's happening on the south side of the map. We've been looking at the north side. Gameslayer is still at HQ2, is struggling a little bit to get to HQ3. Needs another 13k for the upgrade.
Yeah, he's
He
in
has it
reactors, which
right
isn't bad.
now if he wants it.
He does, so he's not too far behind. He is falling a little bit into debt. He's getting down into the 40s now of debt. He needs to find a way to
In
put
that
power down.
low A range, which is okay. He just needs to take that upgrade, find a way to maybe get in some power.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be doing that though at the moment. He's putting down some more reactors and some more steel, which is gonna.
It wouldn't be Gameslayer if he didn't try to get as much debt as possible. It worked for him in the first game. It failed in the second one. We will see what happens in round number 3.
DT going. I was going to say DT going for teleportation. Which isn't all that surprising. The shipping costs are going to be problematic for him quite soon, I think.
Right now, DT's problem is the uranium costs for his creeping up, and he doesn't have a lot of positive incomes.
Yep, he doesn't at all. In fact, he's putting
no money.
He's putting
all of his power is going to pay off his debt.
Yeah, a whole bunch of money into putting those nuclear plants down, but no real way of making the money back. He's got the aluminum mine, and that's his most profitable thing right now. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does. He's also putting an iron mine down, which is an intriguing decision next to the patent lab. Yeah, I don't know.
Iron's only
worth $12.
12. I mean, it's an additional 9 a second when you don't have anything coming in, but I would have.
Yeah, I think
there's get you 64 a second when they're on. So that's
there's better options for that.
32 a second if you average it out over the entire day.
Polina going for the hacker array, the auction gets that for 12,000. So that's something that potentially she can use now. I'm not exactly sure what she's planning to do with that.
So, back is the first to HQ4, leaving both of the leaving the Tacticus behind, which is something you don't want to see. You never want to be a scavenger and see an expansive beat you to HQ4, as Gameslayer just did. Yeah,
DT falling a little bit behind, and yeah, this power play hasn't really worked out for him. He's had to commit a lot into paying off that debt, and he's still in 40,000 of debt, so he's not by any means gotten even close to getting rid of it all. But just the fact that he started with so much debt sort of put him behind the 8 ball a little bit. It meant that he had to invest those claims into nuclear plants quite early, and more than just the 2. In fact, he did have 3 down. So that's a lot of money.
Back deciding that he wants to do the exact same thing as last game. Buy into Gameslayer early. Although I believe the Gameslayer that did it first. Gameslayer maybe did not notice. He had potentially enough cash to defend himself a little bit. Well, he has enough for 2 pips.
Just about. Tudback doesn't have the money to finish this. He needs somebody else to help out.
He needs somebody else to help out, and there's no reason to help out.
Yeah, no, there really isn't.
If I were another player, I'd want to buy into Tudback.
So Gameslayer is getting the little warning saying he's vulnerable to a majority buyout. He is at the moment, 10k short?
Tudback needs 10k.
Yeah.
15k, sorry.
Yeah, Tudback needs 15, Gameslayer needs 10.
10.
So he might be able to defend himself. He should be able to defend himself. Yeah, I think he's okay. Okay.
So, Tudback going with some bold, aggressive moves in this case. Yes, Gameslayer immediately selling back out, which is what he would do.
Yep.
In this case, I'm wondering if Tudback going this aggressive was a mistake. What this did do is it slowed his upgrade to level 5. It would be very hard to get that buy on Gameslayer going in, and it maybe slowed him down a little bit. I'm not sure what to think about it. This is one of those cases where it's like, I don't know. You
Yeah,
could
I mean
go for it, you
it
could not
certainly
go
slowed
for it.
Gameslayer down as well, and I think Gameslayer is probably he certainly sees Gameslayer as his main competition in this game at this point. To the surprise of nobody, by the way, Gameslayer is in well, he's in C debt right now, but yeah, he's on the verge. In fact, right, he's just fallen, as I was talking, into D levels of debt, so he's going to have to deal with that at some point in the very near future. I wonder if he's going to. I mean, presumably, he's not going to upgrade yet because I think if he does, he's absolutely dead. So we'll see how he handles that. He does upgrade, so thinks he can get away with it. Does have probably enough cash on hand to at least, and yeah, Tootback has invested all of that money, partly into himself, so that was a safe thing to do.
Now, for Game Slayer right now, unlike maybe the last game, I don't recall exactly, power's still high. So if he goes into some power plants here and can keep them defended for a while, he'll start paying off his debt. It'll be
Mm,
slow, it'll be painful, but at just under 200, 180, he can still recover
yeah,
and keep himself at least in that C range with those power plants. I'd have to think.
doesn't seem to be doing that though. He's going into an optimization center. He does have some claims to spare, so I wonder if we're going to see some nuclear plants coming down. He's got the uranium coming in. He's got the water as well, very close by. DT, I'm a little bit concerned for DT because he's fallen a little bit. He's gotten rid of that pattern lab after only picking up teleportation, and teleportation isn't very high value at all now. Look at fuel; it's at $40, so he's not really
Fuel,
saving a whole bunch of money there from that.
fuel's at $40. It's because Game Slayer only uses half of it.
Mm,
No, well, not around half. Was it? Yeah, maybe one half the fuel cost. Polina and 2D don't use fuel at all, so Game Slayer is the only one providing positive pressure on fuel of the players in the game right now.
yeah, I think if you're expansive, that your ships go 50% faster, which I think means that you use 2/3 as much fuel because of the way the math works. But yeah,
Yeah,
in
it's
any
something
case,
like
it's not
that.
it's not full. Yeah,
We haven't talked about Polina much this
yeah, we
game. She's
haven't.
sort of been down in the corner, minding her own business. She's a little bit behind, but not terribly far behind.
Yeah, she's got the pleasure dome down, and it's an okay pleasure dome, but power is a concern. That's the issue with that. She's got the optimization center down, and she's got the chem production to support it, but again, just sort of not really making enough money at this point in the game. Certainly not as much as either Tootback or Game Slayer.
Right.
She's sort
She
of
only
this is the
needs.
classic sort of sitting in the corner and optimizing though. So maybe it'll work out. She'll be able to stay out of the big battles of this game.
She is can have the upgrade very shortly now if she wants it. Getting up to level 5 will be good. She should probably go into some more power, maybe try and pay that debt off a little bit. Um,
Yeah, and I think
Still
generally,
potential for power money on this map between 2D back and Polina's. Just which one of the two wants to take it.
and chems are actually very profitable. We haven't really mentioned much about the individual prices this game, but no one else is in chems, and oh, in
Yes,
fact,
and
Game Slayer is, excuse me. But they are
Polina,
profitable.
I'd like to point out with that chems, is making use of one of the more interesting adjacencies. Everybody on Ceres,
Ah,
chems will provide a boost to nuclear plants. So she has one plant that has a double boost, one from this chemical refinery and one from the other plant next to it.
yeah, that's
So just a nice play right there by Polina, I wanted to point out.
yeah, that's an important point to point out. That's really good. Another core sample being used. Was that Polina again? Who was that?
Yes,
It
Polina
was Polina
core sampling some
with the
carbon.
carbon. So
Unfortunately, just got another medium instead of getting a high.
I mean that's still okay. That's more
Well,
than
it's a
you would
medium next
necessarily
to
expect out of the. Yeah,
two other mediums.
that's fair. Um,
So disappointed, but kind of what you'd expect. That Tacticus level 5, finally, last one to go level 5. What you do not want to see is this scavenger. Has that Pan
yeah,
Lab back up again.
yeah, the pattern lab's back. Yeah, I don't quite know.
Went for transparent aluminum. Perhaps that is what gets the upgrade.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like it's hard to justify this honestly. Like look at the carbon claims that he's having to put down just in the late game. He's got the
So the thing though
Hang
is
on, he's
he
still
has
got the...
teleportation, so these other two carbon claims, he can rotate these out and use them for
Oh,
something
that's
else.
what he's been doing.
Production
Okay,
buildings.
yeah, okay, that's what he's been
So he,
doing.
he has these carbon claims while carbon is ridiculously expensive at 178 and falling. But
Yeah.
when he sells out of everything, he can transfer them over into something that makes money. So I'm perfectly okay with that move. In fact, it's a really good one, I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's something I hadn't noticed. That is something the teleportation allows him to do, which
So
is
Game
quite
Slayer,
important. Oh, that circuit overload is really going to hurt DT. He was making money from that power. He gets shut down though by Polina.
yes, Polina is finally making power money. Polina is making 1K a second in power money, so she wanted to shut down her largest competition in that, and she'll only be making more as her fourth nuclear plant comes online.
Yeah, power sticking at 250. It's something we haven't mentioned a whole lot this game, but it is pretty important. Gameslayer still refusing to go
Finally
into
going
power.
into three nuclear plants and one
Oh,
solar panel.
he's
The
just...
little black magic solar panel right here.
Yeah, it's just much too late. I'm sorry. It's look at his stock price. It's $14.
It's $14. He has
Oh,
almost 300K in debt. It would have been, like I was saying earlier, it would have been good to go into when he had 150K in debt, but right now he's
yeah.
gonna struggle to pay that off, especially with power on its way down.
He's been hacking. He's been hacking power down as well. So even though he's
Well,
put
now he's
the...
going reverse and hack it back up.
Yeah, yeah. Even though he's put the nuclear plants down, that's not really going to help him very much. He's going to short food now as well. But again, it's going to be really hard for him to make any money
That
from any of that.
Tacticus is us transitioning out of those power plants back into some food, buys up all of his own stock,
Yeah, I wonder if... I mean,
preparing himself for the long game, which is always an interesting preparation for a scavenger player to make, even on Mars.
I'm really surprised that he didn't transition the nuclear plants that were shut down by circuit overloads into food instead. I feel like that might have been slightly better. Um, in any case, Polina going into Toodback, which is an interesting move. Toodback does have those two slot stock in Game Slayer, and probably could complete that buy quite quickly. So I wonder if we're going to see that quite soon. Game Slayer, I think, is going to try and pay his debt off. That's going to be a difficult thing to do, though, and I think Toodback, with those two stock in him, is in a good position to push to maybe the 5 at this point, because it's so cheap for him to buy those 32,000 for one of those pips.
The
Not
only
very much
thing
money.
that Game Slayer has in his favor right now is he has the most money out of
Mm.
anybody. So he could pay off 100K or 200K chunk of this debt right now, and he wouldn't be he'd be less than 100K behind 2D
Yeah,
back and Tacticus and
yeah, that is true.
170K behind Polina. That's the only thing he has going for him, and perhaps more earnings potential due to the size of his expansive base. Doesn't have
Yeah,
the
and he's
adjacency
got
bonus.
a couple of optimizations now. He's had the optimization center running for a little while, just by the colony, which I think is going to help him a little bit. He's got the electronics. Electronics got silly again this game, as they
Yes,
did last game,
it was another
or 2 games ago.
electronics colony.
Yeah,
This Moscow is a more of a normal size,
yeah, yeah. And
or
it's
slightly larger than normal
certainly
size.
sizable, consuming 2 a second. Polina now going into those electronics as well, but Gameslayer's got them optimized, and that's a big deal. 75% optimizations mean these electronic factories are making 500 a second each, which is a huge amount of money. He has paid a
Yes.
bunch of that debt off. He's down to 70k now,
He's
which
at
means that his stock
A
price has
rating.
recovered.
The stock price is recovering. Game Slayer, like I was saying, is actually not too far behind now. He has
Yeah,
147K debt after paying off that huge amount of money. And honestly, for where he was, is in a really great place.
so he's hacking up water and power, which is, again, kind of an interesting move. He's got a big stockpile of water, and he sees that as a problematic resource for everybody else. Fight over the pleasure dome between Polina and Toodback. Wonder if somebody else is going to chime in with that one. They're not, for the time being at least.
On the subject of optimization, the Tacticus is the only player not to have any optimizations. And like the first game we saw him without any, I think this is a mistake.
Yeah, I think
It
so too.
is
He's making.
impossible. Well, not entirely impossible to go into off-worlds. Food is a 53, 56k
Yeah.
profit launch. It costs that Tacticus 166k to build an off-world, which is high, but not absurdly high. I'd rather see some optimizations going down.
Yeah, those
Because
food
the
launches are going to be tempting for somebody, I feel, at some point in this game. I wonder if we're going to see. Yeah, and Game Slayer's going into an off-world. This is really interesting. So
So now we have the two leaders of the game, 2D and Polina, are having a stock fight with each other right now. They,
yeah, Polina's slightly
well,
ahead at the moment. She is, yeah, about 100k ahead, and needs another 400k to complete the buy. Tootback needs more along the lines of 500,000, so it's going to be close
Polina
between those two.
also has a slight advantage in optimization in her favor,
Yeah, including those really
especially
crucial electronics optimizations,
yes, but
given
she
how
only
silly
has
that price
two
is.
tiles in electronics.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, she needs more,
So
I think.
which the only quibbles I might have with her base right now, looking at it, is she has so many claims are bringing in resources: two for carbon, two for silicon, two for iron, two for water. But she doesn't have. Oh, I'm sorry, four for iron. I missed two of them. Wait, no, these yellows are Game Slayer. So that was first right. So she doesn't really have many buildings sitting here that are actually making her money.
Yeah, that's very true. And something else as well. Look at this aluminum price. It's just got really silly, and partly because of the electronics, and because
The
people have
electronics, and I wouldn't be
transitioned away.
surprised if one of our hacker arrays has been hacking it and we've missed it.
I don't think so.
Well,
I'm
maybe
not
not.
sure. I'm going to check actually. Production and sales. Oh yeah,
Let's see.
no, you're quite right. DT has been hacking it up. Only twice,
And
but
that's because DT has two tiles into aluminum.
yeah.
2D back currently has zero. Game Slayer has zero.
Gameslayer has one right next to his base.
Looks like next to base. Yeah, those are hard to see sometimes. And
Yeah,
then
it's not. Yeah, it's only
Polina
one.
has zero.
Don't think she has any. Her aluminum is underneath the
Her
solar
aluminum's
condensers and
underneath the
nuclear
solar
plants.
condensers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and nuclear plants.
So this stock fight, Tootbat looks like he's going to win it, which is surprising to me. He had more of the earnings potential. He's almost at 100%, so very, very nearly there.
I think in
Needs
this
to realize it.
case,
Sorry, gone.
yes, in this case, I think this is just due to Tudeback having more of his claims are producing resources versus Polina had more of her claims bringing in resources. And when, yes, inputs are really high, but outputs are ridiculously high.
Yeah, yeah, that might well have been the case. I think so. Gameslayer has gone into DT, and DT has gone into Gameslayer. So those two are battling between
Game
each other. Gameslayer
Slayer
is
will
basically
have it.
there,
Has it right
just
now
about. He is in
if
a
he
whole
wants
bunch
it.
of debt. They both at 100% on each other. They both need to
He's
realize
gonna
it. Gameslayer does get the buy, but only
buy.
barely. And now this is
Game
going to be
Slayer
interesting.
did go for a off-world, so is taking a little bit advantage of those food launches, which are only at 40k, in part because Game Slayer's not producing the food that he's selling
Yep.
off-world, so the price has crept up.
And Toodback is producing food, so that money indirectly is going straight to Toodback. The shutdown from Toodback comes down onto Gameslayer's electronics. Gameslayer can't respond because he's in nearly $400,000 worth of debt, and his stock price as a consequence is tanking. And I think that might be the difference in this game. Toodback not quite making as much money as Gameslayer, but he does have that big stock price advantage, and that's mainly from the fact that Gameslayer is in so much debt.
Yes, so Game Slayer just has to hope that he can outproduce Tudeback, which is going to be hard when Tudeback has the advantage in the stock owned and the ability to freeze Game Slayer at will.
Yeah,
Although the
yeah.
freezes are 110k, so
Yeah, it's not going to be the freeze so much. I wonder if he's going to start picking that off-world. Um, Nobody has
with
thinking machines,
Mutiny,
right? Yeah, nobody has
perhaps.
thinking machines.
Nobody's thinking machines. That would have been great for Game Slayer to pick up, considering how much of his base is touching
Yeah.
his headquarters.
But it's mainly just the stock price advantage, and yeah, Toodback does get it, and it was so much money that Gameslayer had to make up on Toodback, even with the potential earnings advantage of the expansive. He wasn't able to take it down, so Toodback with another win in this tournament. He's up to 3 now,
Three
out of
wins in a
3.
commanding position.
Takes
Who
that
who
one over
cares?
Gameslayer and
Who cares
DT.
about tiebreakers if you
Yeah, if you win all the
have
games,
all the wins, right?
that's all you
Okay,
have to
so
do.
let's talk a little bit about these bases. I think you said it at the beginning when Death Tacticus founded in the scavenger spot. There's a decent scavenger spot, but he just went into it for too much debt.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
that's
that
right.
was the issue.
And I think honestly, I mean, we've seen 3 times some very valiant attempts with Scavenger, but they've all had something happen to them that's basically
Well,
knocked them out.
so
Um,
so far we've seen it. We've seen the scavengers not win, but I'd say they're more due to player error rather
hmm,
than
I don't
the
know. I think
intent
Rahi played
of the
her Scavenger game
scavengers.
very well. I think DT maybe a little bit too much debt, but even so, like certainly on Mars,
A
you
little
wouldn't.
bit too much debt, and then some questionable moves in HQ3 where he wasn't making any money and fell behind
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
upgrades.
potentially. Um, but yeah, I mean, I
Game
think
player, like oh, sorry, continue.
I was going to say so. Taking this spot for 24k on Mars would be an absolute no-brainer, and I would expect DT to win that game if he did that on Mars. But again, just on Ceres, just the fact that those resources diminish just makes it so difficult in the late game to make any sort of money. And in every one of these games, we've seen carbon up at 100, 150, 200, $250. And just that
Hmm.
fact alone just makes it so difficult because you need that carbon in the late game and you need lots of that carbon in the late game. And the fact that
Yes,
you can't get it is just such a difficult thing.
Game Slayer did go